If you're enjoying this podcast from us here at Which, then why not become a Which member? Right now, we've got a special offer, especially for podcast listeners, meaning you can choose any of our 3 membership tiers for 50% off the usual price. Starting at just £39.50 for a full year, you can get Which magazine delivered direct to your door. For the same price, you could also choose a digital Which subscription, giving you access to all of our product reviews, the Which app, and the digital edition of Which magazine. What's more, you'll also be able to use the Ask Which service for personalised one-to-one buying advice. Or why not get a full access Which subscription for just £49.50 for a full year? Don't forget, that's 50% off the usual price. To join Which or to find out more, just head to which.co.uk/podcast offer. That's which.co.uk/podcast offer, or click the link in the description for today's podcast for 50% off a Which annual subscription.
Funding for pharmacies has fallen 40% in real terms over the last decade. Is that the stat that's making it difficult for many of us to get our hands on our medication? Hello, it's James O here to bring you a brand new episode of Which Shorts. This week, I'm bringing you a piece that was written by Megan Thomas from the May issue of Which magazine. It's all about funding levels for pharmacies. Now, between July 2022 and September 2024, nearly 800 pharmacies permanently closed their doors across the UK. As well, almost 14,000 suffered temporary closures, and almost 2/3 of premises in England reported that they were losing money. So what can you do to ensure you get the medication you actually need? Here's Megan's piece, adapted for the podcast, this week read by Kat Chireda.
We've all been there, on hold to a GP surgery trying to get an appointment. Well, who better to help out and step in than your pharmacist? This is the idea behind Pharmacy First, an initiative launched by the government and NHS England last year that means you can go straight to your pharmacist for 7 common ailments. This sounds like an obvious way to relieve the pressures on GPs, but Professor Camilla Hawthorne, chair of the Royal College of General Practitioners, isn't so sure. The unfortunate reality is that both professions are facing crises. A perfect storm of funding difficulties, staff shortages, and manufacturing issues is impacting how easy it is to access the medication or advice you need. 1 in 5 Which members we surveyed have told us they've struggled to access prescription medicine in the past year. Take Rachel, for example. She's a Which member from Norfolk who has consistently been unable to get her ADHD medication. For the past year, she told us, there's not been more than 2 consecutive months when she's been able to order and pick up her entire prescription in one go. She now has to visit a bigger pharmacy 25 minutes away from where she lives. And she's not alone. People living in rural areas may have just 1 or 2 local pharmacies, but they often have to travel further afield to get their medication. So what's the problem? Well, pharmacies pay up front to order medicines and are later reimbursed by the NHS. However, what the NHS pays, based on its list of approved drug prices, doesn't always match this cost, leaving pharmacies operating at a loss. In the past, pharmacies ordered medication at the start of every month, but cash flow difficulties mean they're increasingly only ordering on request, meaning we end up having to wait longer to get what we've been prescribed. Plus, pharmacy closures and fluctuating ownership have an impact too. Between July 2022 and September 2024, Lloyds Pharmacy closed over 1,200 branches in the UK, whereas Boots closed almost 400. While most were taken over, closures put even more pressure on remaining pharmacies, sometimes resulting in huge queues and businesses operating at an even greater loss. Nick Kay is the chair of the National Pharmacy Association and the owner of 2 pharmacies in Cornwall. He told us that funding pressures are leading to increasingly tough choices. Our members are reducing opening hours and reducing staffing. People are also waiting longer for their medication. But if we don't do that, there will be no pharmacy at all. It's not just planned closures that are causing problems. there were more than 13,000 temporary closures reported in 2023, where a pharmacy closed during its usual operating hours. This is usually due to no pharmacist on site, in which case medicines can't legally be dispensed for safety reasons. Staffing shortages mean the only times many people can visit the pharmacy, at lunch and after work, are the times it's closed. Some pharmacies have even started to charge extra for helpful services, such as home delivery too. Lindsay Fairbrother, a pharmacy owner in Derbyshire, told us, "As a healthcare professional, it's really uncomfortable asking people for money. I've not had to do that before. But because we don't get paid properly, we can't carry on doing stuff for free." Additional funding from Pharmacy First has been warmly received, with 95% of pharmacies signing up. But Nick Kay describes the service as the perfect icing on a crumbling cake. A substantial uplift to pharmacy funding in England for the 2025 and 26 financial year was announced at the end of March, making a step towards financial security for pharmacies. The new funding agreement includes a 15% increase in the amount pharmacies are paid per prescription, from £1.27 to £1.46, as well as the continuation of additional funding for Pharmacy First. So the big question is, how can you get the medication you need? Well, there isn't a one-size-fits-all solution, but here are some options to consider. 1. Get a paper prescription, sometimes called an FP10 form. This will allow you to pick up your medication from any pharmacy, rather than just your local one. 2. If your pharmacist doesn't have the medicine you need, ask if there's another nearby pharmacy with it in stock. Some Which members said their pharmacist called other places on their behalf. 3. If you're unable to travel to different pharmacies, consider using an online pharmacy instead and get your medicine delivered to you. Check it's on the General Pharmaceutical Council register to be sure it's reputable. You can do this by searching for the pharmacy on pharmacistregulation.org. 4. If you've been prescribed a specific branded medication that isn't available, ask your GP if there's an unbranded alternative. A pharmacist has to give you exactly what you've been prescribed, but they may have an identical unbranded substitute. And finally, why not order repeat prescriptions on the NHS app? You can view your requested medicines to see when they have been approved by your GP. A prescription tracking service is gradually being introduced too, which tells you the progress of your order. For example, pharmacy preparing medicine.
Thanks for listening to this podcast from Which, the UK's consumer champion. You can find plenty more advice about what we discussed today in the show notes. There you'll also find a link to become a Which member for 50% off the usual price, an offer exclusively available to you, our podcast listeners. Joining Which will not only give you access to all of our product reviews, our app, one-to-one personalised buying advice and every issue of Which magazine across the air, but you'll also be helping us to make life simpler, fairer and safer for everyone. Don't forget to hit subscribe wherever you're listening, that way you'll be notified whenever we release a new episode of Which Money, Which Shorts or another podcast that we make for you. And if you want to get in touch with us, then follow us on social media, we're at Which UK, or you can drop us an email to podcasts@which.co.uk. See you next time.
Every year, Which tests thousands of the products that you rely on every day. And we've been doing it for over 60 years.
Which reviews are 100% impartial. We don't accept freebies from manufacturers and we have no owners, shareholders or government departments to answer to. So our work is on behalf of you, the consumer.
In a world of misleading claims and fake reviews, we test everything, from everyday items to big purchases, so that you don't have to.
We then put them through tests and assessments that go beyond the accepted standard to work out how well these products work for you and what's not worth your money. And a Which membership not only gets you access to our reviews, it also funds our non-profit campaigning work, like getting scam ads banned on social media and ending broadband and mobile mid-contract price hikes. And right now, podcast listeners can become a Which member for 50% off the usual price by heading to which.co.uk/podcast offer.